This Hispanic Heritage Month, we're spotlighting someone who's breaking barriers and shooting for the stars. Our Alexis Martinez talks with a journalist who's paving the next way for the next generation.
Thank you, Alfonso and Solor. As we celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month and highlight Latino voices in journalism, we have CSUN's broadcast and digital media coordinator, Jacob Gonzalez. Jacob, it's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
So first off, I just wanted to know, can you just tell me about what your job entails at
Sure.
CSUN?
Yeah, so I am the KCSN news director, so I handle a lot of the operations stuff there, as well as the broadcast and digital media coordinator for the college, specifically for the journalism department. And so that means, a lot of the KCSN stuff, just regarding that first, that has to deal with all the operations, so as far as putting together newscasts and overseeing the newscasts that students help build, as well as helping students with audio editing. For a lot of students, this is their first time in a radio broadcast class, if not the first time. So they have a lot of questions, about writing style, specifically for radio and broadcast, as well as audio editing. So I kind of oversee that, and as well as helping the other departments, like the TV production lab and the sundial as well.
Right. I know you mentioned about the CSUN students. I know you started your CSUN alum.
Yeah. Right.
How does it feel? How does it feel to come full circle in your career?
Honestly, it's pretty weird, but at the same time though, it feels pretty rewarding, just because I was a student here and I had been through all the programs, I've been through all these classes before, especially at the radio station, which is kind of where I fell in love with the industry of radio. But honestly, it feels really rewarding to be back in a full circle moment.
Right. So, that kind of full circle moment, you yourself being Hispanic, how does Hispanic Heritage Month mean to you as a Latino in journalism or in the journalistic industry?
Sure, yeah, it means a lot. And honestly speaking, from my childhood, I remember growing up and my grandma would always have news on. She didn't really listen to the radio so much, but Spanish news was a big thing for her because that was her first language. So I kind of grew up around it. I don't want to sit here and say that I always wanted to be in journalism when I was little, because I had other aspirations, but I think that was a big part of it too, is just seeing, especially for Spanish TV and news, is just seeing how they got into the community and they interviewed people, and those stories really matter to the community too. So that's why I think it means so much to me, I think, with Hispanic Heritage Month too.
Do you think working at iHeartMedia represented the community you served?
Oh, absolutely. Especially some of the work that I did. There was some projects and news documentaries that I helped produce that they touched a little bit up on Hispanic heritage, but just other different communities as well, not just them too. So I did a lot of work with that. So they, in turn, yes, they did represent the community very well.
Okay. How has that Hispanic representation in journalism evolved since you started in the field?
I think it's evolved immensely, just because when I was in the field producing for a lot of our news documentaries too, I think over the years I start to see these newsrooms from different outlets grow a little bit more as far as the coverage for these Spanish stations, and they're just more popular. And if you watch news conferences, everything is done in English and then in Spanish. So I think in turn, it's grown exponentially, in the last couple of years. Yeah.
Right. So then, were there any journalists or producers that kind of inspired your career very early on?
Well, I think
now?
Oh, well, now. My career kind of had a different path. When I was first here at Cal State Northridge, I actually wanted to go into sports, and I still love sports, but I wanted to be a play-by-play analyst, and that's a very tough job to get into, and it's a very small pool. But in taking courses here, and especially taking a radio course, I really liked the producing aspect of it, and I fell in love with being able to basically put something together out of nothing. You have to start from scratch, a lot of research, you work with hosts, you work with reporters and stuff like that, and then going out in the field and interviewing these people. I think that was really cool. Instead of being in the studio's great, but I really loved being out in the field, and that was the best part of it. So I didn't really look up to anybody per se, but I mean, sports was always that was where it started for me.
Were there any professional barriers you encountered breaking into such a competitive industry?
There was a couple, only because I would say at the station that I worked with, the younger generation didn't really get hired so much as far as technical directors and part-time producers, and so that was kind of tough. Interning there at KFI News, it was great, but I knew that my time was limited, so I had to make the most of it. And they saw something enough to hire me as a part-time technical director. So I think it worked out, but I didn't necessarily face, these massive barriers. I think the age thing was probably the biggest struggle for me. Yeah.
So then what kept you motivated when facing any moments of self-doubt in your career?
That's a good question. Honestly, just perseverance, just keep going, because the biggest thing there, and it could get daunting, right? So I was working in an industry where I was coming into radio, and a lot of these people I was working with, they had been in the industry for 20 plus years, just as hosts, just as producers. And so I think that can get a little scary because you're kind of measuring yourself up to them. But I think the biggest thing and the biggest advice I'd give somebody is just be a sponge. Just take what you can from everybody and then just keep working hard. And the internship ended up paying off because, again, they saw something enough to keep me there, and then it ended up making me part-time and then later on full-time. So I think the biggest thing is just keep going, just keep picking up what you can.
Right. So I just want to ask, was there any major deciding factors to coming back to CSUN? I know you're alum, but.
Oh, sure. Yeah, well, the alum part is kind of a no-brainer, right?
Right.
But the biggest thing is that when I was interning and then when I worked there, we also had interns after I was full-time at KFI. But I think the biggest thing and the selling point when I returned here and to come back, I think I wanted to give students the most real-life experiences as possible, something that I had experienced while I was there at iHeart for 7 years, and especially field producing is you get to see it from a different lens. And that's what I want to implement on students' work, especially at KCSN, is get out in the field, go do something out in the community, give back to the community. The biggest thing with community and media is this transparency part, right? They need to know what's going on, and that's what our role as journalists and media are. We need to show what's going on. So I think that's the biggest thing that I wanted to give back to students.
Right. So then what advice would you give to students who want to break through this industry?
It's tough. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It's definitely hard. And the newsrooms are smaller nowadays, right? Because you have to be kind of the Swiss Army knife, and that was something that I was told when I was in school. But I think the biggest thing is just again, my advice when I was an intern. Just take everything you can, from people. Really, learn what you can from everybody that you meet, and the connections are the strongest thing. Only because it doesn't matter if you meet somebody once, let's just say at a press conference, or you're out in the field, or you meet somebody at a meet and greet kind of a thing, but just take those connections. Those really help you down the line.
Right. So what were some of the proudest moments as a journalist?
I think some of the proudest moments were definitely serving the community and doing stories, especially the news documentary stuff. Well, at KFI, I helped produce a couple documentaries. And some of them were, not even some of them, most of them were all about diversity. And one of them, my colleague and I, we won a National Murrow Award for it, and that was about the LGBTQ community. And so that was a big thing, only because our station had never done a lot of stuff like that until maybe the last 5 years. They really started pushing for stuff, and I felt proud to give back to a community that maybe had not had a stronger voice.
Do you think Latino students should just, look forward into the new generation of journalism?
Oh, absolutely. I think that right now, again, I've seen it grow, and I mean, we live in Los Angeles County, and so, English, yeah, sure, it's a, spoken language here, but Spanish is such a big thing. So I would say, yeah, absolutely, they should feel like, right now is the time,
Right.
And again, like what I've seen in the field in the last couple of years when I was working at KFI for iHeartMedia, yeah, the newsrooms are big. These Spanish TV stations, they were pretty big. So yeah, it's grown.
Yeah. I just wanted to get into what you think the journalism should go into.
As far as
as what do you think needs to change for journalism and broadcast specifically?
It's tough. Like any medium, it's evolving. Specifically radio, right? I work at KCSN. I came from radio, worked in radio. It's evolving, and so just to go off of that really quick, radio's changed in a sense where it's still there and the medium still exists, but it's so different than what it was, let's just say 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Now it's focused on podcasting, right? And so I think for that, and even TV, it's just that you have to learn to adapt and evolve to it. And so I think that's the hard part and that's the challenging part. And as journalists, I think that's why you need to be more well-rounded. You need to be able to have TV, but also radio, be able to shoot video, cut video. So I think that is by far the most challenging part. So I don't know. It's a tough question. You know.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I just want to say thank you, Jacob, for joining us today. It's been great to hear about your journey from CSUN student to award-winning work at iHeartMedia. Back to you guys in the studio.